Brian Griffin is standing in the street, Stewie yelling, "Brian, look out!"
Brian, look out!
And before anyone can process what's happening, a speeding car slams straight into him. The Griffin family rushes to the hospital, gripping onto hope, but the doctor delivers the words nobody expected.
I'm sorry. He's gone.
"I'm so sorry, Mrs. Griffin, but Brian's injuries are just too severe for us to save him." This gut punch moment from Season 12, Episode 6, Life of Brian, wasn't just shocking, it was the most emotional death in Family Guy history, and the more you look through the show's long, absurd history, the clearer it becomes. Family Guy kills characters in ways that are emotional, ridiculous, darkly comedic, and sometimes all three at once. So today we're breaking down the worst and most iconic deaths in the series. Deaths that made fans gasp, laugh, or pause and say, "Yep, that's definitely Family Guy." Across its 20-plus seasons, Family Guy has never treated death as an ending. Sometimes it's a punchline, sometimes a plot twist, and occasionally it actually means something. In this video, we're diving into 5 of the show's most unforgettable fatalities. We'll break down why these deaths stand out, what makes them hit so hard, and how the series uses them to push shock value and storytelling. By the end, you'll see there's a deliberate method behind the madness, even when the moment is played for laughs. Brian Griffin's death in Life of Brian. Brian's death doesn't ease into tragedy, it hits instantly. He's struck by a car, thrown across the pavement, and rushed to the hospital where the family gathers around him. The tragedy gives us one of the most emotional lines in the show's history. "You've given me a wonderful life. I love you all."
You've given me a wonderful life. I love you all.
Stewie breaks down. Peter can barely speak at the funeral, calling Brian, "my best friend in the whole world." The show treats the moment with surprising sincerity. No cutaways, no jokes, just grief. The aftermath hits even harder. The Griffins bring home a replacement dog, Vinny, voiced by the Sopranos' Tony Sirico. Meanwhile, Stewie spirals, begging for his best friend back. "You're not supposed to lose your best friend at my age." For 2 episodes, Brian stays dead. Fans protested, petitions circulated, and the emotional weight stayed heavy until Christmas Guy, when Stewie travels back in time and saves Brian. The timeline where you died no longer exists. Merry Christmas, Brian. It's the rare Family Guy death treated with full dramatic impact, and for many viewers, it still stands as the most devastating. But that wasn't even the darkest one. Diane Simmons, and then there were fewer. Before her death, Diane Simmons had been a familiar face, the calm, polished co-anchor of Quahog 5 News. But when she turns 40 and gets replaced, we learn she's been hiding something deadly. In this murder mystery parody, Diane is revealed to be the killer responsible for a string of deaths, including Muriel Goldman, Derek Wilcox, Stephanie, and even James Woods.
Oh my God, what happened? I fell through a trapdoor that led to an underground passageway.
When Lois discovers her secret, Diane corners her at the cliff, gun in hand. "It's a shame that you have to die, Lois. You'll be a story on the 6 o'clock news."
Well, it's a shame that you have to die, Lois, but look on the bright side. You'll be a story on the 6 o'clock news.
But before she can pull the trigger, Stewie fires the shot, sending Diane tumbling off the cliff. The irony? She dies while delivering a dramatic villain monologue, something Family Guy delights in subverting. This death stood out because Diane wasn't a one-note character or a random cutaway victim. She'd been part of the Family Guy world for years. Her reveal as a full-blown murderer shocked fans, and her collapse off that cliff remains one of the most cinematic deaths ever animated by the show. But if Diane's fall was shocking, Bertram's end was even more absurdly satisfying. Bertram, the Big Bang Theory. Bertram has always been an over-the-top villain, the kind of character who talks like he's in a sci-fi opera, but still gets outsmarted by a baby. In his final episode, he attempts a universe-altering plan, cornering Stewie and preparing to erase him from existence. "You're about to be yesterday's hopscotch chalk on a sidewalk, Stewie erased." Stewie tries to warn him, "Well, if you erase me, you'll destroy the universe." But Bertram doesn't care. In classic fashion, he shoots Brian instead, then immediately gets outplayed. What follows is pure Family Guy, unserious, dramatic, and darkly hilarious. Stewie readies his bow and delivers an improvised taunt. "Hey Bertram, what's your favorite kind of bottled water?" A beat. "Mine's Arrowhead." And then he fires an arrow straight into Bertram's head. The universe is saved, Bertram is instantly dead, and the show ends the rivalry on a joke that's stupid, clever, and perfectly in character. His death wasn't emotional, it was satisfying. Fans got the closure they wanted.
So I'll take Da Vinci's place and pass it on. Wait, how'd you get that from bowels?
Delivered through the show's signature mix of absurdity and timing. And speaking of complicated families, and the next death hits a very uncomfortable nerve. Francis Griffin's death, Peter's two dads.
Oh, you guys away! Grandpa!
Francis Griffin is the definition of strict Catholic father, judgmental, aggressive, and always 1 second away from calling someone a Protestant wearer. He never showed Peter affection. He barely showed Lois basic human kindness. So naturally, his death had to be both tragic and absurd. The moment is ridiculous. Peter, dressed as a clown, drunk, and riding a unicycle down the stairs, crashes directly onto Francis. Lois screams, "Oh my God, Grandpa!" The doctor later explains, his internal injuries were much too severe. He'll be dead within the hour. Francis manages to spit out a final insult, "Peter, you're a fat stinking drunk," before dying. The joke lands because it combines slapstick with emotional release. Francis had been such an unyielding presence in Peter's life that his death feels shocking, but comically fitting. Peter's first reaction, "So, do I inherit anything?" Classic Family Guy. Francis returns as a ghost in later episodes, continuing to insult Peter from beyond the grave. In this universe, death isn't final, it's just another storytelling tool. But one of the show's earliest deaths was both unexpected and career-changing. Mr. Weed's death in Mr. Saturday Night. Jonathan Weed wasn't just Peter's boss, he was the closest thing Peter had to professional stability, which is why his death remains one of the show's most unforgettable early twists. It starts with an innocent family dinner. Mr. Weed compliments Peter's home, his family, even Brian. "Peter, being here with your wonderful family, your beautiful home, and your funny talking dog, I'm impressed." Then he says the magic words, "Starting Monday, I'd like to promote you to head of toy development." Everyone cheers, and then chaos strikes. Brian begins choking on a dinner roll. Peter performs the Heimlich, saving him, but the roll fires across the room and wedges itself straight into Mr. Weed's throat. He collapses instantly. The script is brutal, silly, and delivered with perfect deadpan timing. The fallout changes the entire series. In his video will, Mr. Weed reveals the toy factory will be demolished and replaced with the Happy-Go-Lucky Terminal Disease Institute, leaving Peter unemployed and setting up seasons of job-hopping chaos. A single dinner roll reshaped the show. Family Guy's most shocking deaths work because the show follows its own strange but consistent internal logic. Characters can die permanently, die temporarily, return through time travel, appear as ghosts, or re-enter the story without explanation, and somehow it all fits the rules of Quahog. The writers mix cartoon absurdity with selective realism. Brian's death is treated with full emotional weight, while Francis's death by unicycle impact is pure slapstick, and Bertram's universe-ending showdown plays like sci-fi parody. Even Mr. Weed's death by dinner roll feels logical in a world where chaos is a narrative engine. The consistency comes from this dual system. Emotional deaths stay emotional, joke deaths stay ridiculous, and the show never apologizes for switching between the two. That balance makes each fatal moment unforgettable. What makes Family Guy deaths so memorable isn't gore, it's contrast. The show blends absurd comedy with surprise emotional punches, creating fatalities that stay with viewers long after the episode ends. Brian's heartbreaking farewell, Diane's villainous downfall, Bertram's dramatic defeat, Francis's messy family tragedy, and Mr. Weed's dinner roll disaster each highlight the series' talent for balancing shock, humor, and storytelling. In a world where a talking dog can die, return, be replaced, and still give a eulogy, where news anchors turn into murderers, where villain babies battle at the edge of the universe, and where a dinner roll can shape a character's entire career, death is not merely an ending, it's a punchline, a plot device, a surprise twist, and occasionally, a moment that actually makes you feel something. These are Family Guy's worst and most iconic deaths, and in a universe as chaotic as Quahog, you can always expect more.